hero, the Battle Copter, is being added in the Builder Base update. We now also have troop abilities, and it's important you understand how each of these work to maximize your 6-star attacks and therefore the amount of loot you gain. You already know from previous videos that now once you hit Builder Hall 6, you unlock a second village. You can notice a number of new buildings in this village, including the new hero, which I will be explaining later, as this and the battle machine were completely reworked. But now that you can have 2 heroes, you can switch them before an attack. However, you can only use one at a time since the master builder is operating them. Let's say you select the ground battle machine for your first attack. If you 3-star and the battle machine survives, at the end of that attack, any hero ability not used will automatically trigger to take advantage of its healing effect. If the battle machine was not full in health, that is where you would be starting if you chose to continue with it. However, you could choose to switch out to the air battle copter, which would have full health since it hasn't been used yet. If your battle machine does not survive the first stage, but you do 3-star it, in the second village, you can still use the battle copter and it would still have full HP. The same obviously applies no matter which hero you pick, and a similar principle happens for the troops. Any surviving troops from stage 1 will transfer to stage 2 and receive some healing thanks to the new healing HUD. You unlock this at Builder Hall 6, and obviously you want to upgrade this to give your troops the maximum amount of healing. The second village also brings Otto's Outpost, as you are automatically given the second builder for the Builder Base once you hit Builder Hall 6, and this is where he resides. It does act as the Builder Hall for the second stage, so destroying it provides a star. However, there are defending zappies underneath. The other new building over here is the Reinforcement Camp. The first unlocked at Builder Hall 6, second at Builder Hall 9. These are just like an army camp, providing an extra slot for troops, but only once you get to the second stage. Being reinforcement troops, they would have their abilities, but any unused troop abilities from the first stage would transfer across to the second. There are some troops that have reusable abilities, which you could then use over both stages, but you need to know how to use the abilities to their best effectiveness, so let's go over them. Starting with the Raged Barbarian, it has a passive ability increasing the speed and damage for 20 seconds. You do only have 4 Raged Barbarians per army camp slot now, so they are a lot stronger in themselves. Having said that though, other than lower Builder Hall levels, their main use case for me is in searching for Tesla in order to then allow your cannon cart to outrange defenses with its mortar mode. You will only be using 1 or 2 to scout for Tesla, so the others you can use to easily increase percentage if you know the 6-star is not possible, or in order to pick off outside buildings, which might include exposed guard post troops. Interesting to note, if you were to use only 2 barbarians in stage 1, they survived and transferred to stage 2, they would not have the raged bonus to begin with, but the 2 unused barbarians would have their raged bonus. So in cases where you have multiple troops in an army camp slot, they have passive abilities, so they are preserved to the individual troop for the second stage. The Sneaky Archer, again, has its passive invisibility for 10 seconds. Likewise, you could use the Sneaky Archer to test for Tesla, and essentially it comes down to what you're going to use the rest of the army camp slot for. If there were defenses that were slightly exposed towards the edge of the map, and the Sneaky Archers could use their invisibility to get that, then you have a dual purpose of all 4 of the Sneaky Archers, 1 or 2 to test for Tesla, the others to pick off buildings near the perimeter. What is great by picking off defenses at the perimeter is that actually might then allow you to use the cannon cart in mortar mode to snipe off other buildings, because there might be some that you cannot outrange, but a couple of archers could allow you to take advantage of that area. Another good use case of leftover Sneaky Archers is just to deploy them behind giants. That can be very effective, particularly if you are diving in towards guard post troops. Moving on to the giant, this actually has 2 abilities. It has a passive ability whereby its first attack deals extra damage, but it also has a one-time active ability. You can use this to block all damage for 7.5 seconds. Essentially, it makes it immune for that time. It is best to use this as it is approaching heavy defenses, such as when a giant cannon is about to fire or when it approaches the crusher. Do not worry if you forget to trigger it though, because it will automatically activate as the boxer giant is about about to go down. And by the way, this same principle will apply to all of the troops that have a one-time ability. The minions, they have their passive ability, but it is a lot stronger. For the first 7 shots, it will be faster, deal more damage, and from a longer range. Don't worry, the dropship minion strategy is still viable in Builder Base 2.0, so that is clearly one of the methods you could use this for. You also might find the odd ground-based defense that you're able to snipe, and that might be a reason that you use the beta minions over the raged barbarians or the sneaky archers to test for Tesla. But as I mentioned, you're only going to use 1 or 2 minions to do so. The others you need to be able to utilize since you don't have a huge amount of troops in Builder Base 2.0. Moving to the bomber, this has a reusable ability which you can trigger every 22 seconds. Rather than just throwing one bomb, it will bounce multiple times, much like the bowler from the home village, and each of those will do extra damage. Whilst the ability is very effective, I would still only use the bomber if you are doing a ground-based attack and you need access through the walls. This could be if you need to destroy them fast, otherwise your battle machine might walk around and off to a different area of the base. But if you do decide to use this troop, I would suggest, rather than just instantly pressing the ability as soon as it's ready, just watch where the bomber is. It's quite common that it might be targeting at a building, and the bouncing bomb would then go off to nowhere. Wait until it takes that down, and it might retarget into the center of the base, then you're damaging through multiple defenses. The baby dragon, much like the giant, has 2 abilities as well, one being its passive tantrum ability, where it is enraged when it's out of range of other air troops, and the second is its one-time active ability, Fiery Sneeze. Essentially, it spits out a huge ball of fire, so you want to use this as it is approaching any air targeting defenses, whether it's an archer tower you're trying to snipe off on the perimeter of the base. Likewise, the firecrackers, if they are easily accessible for the baby dragon, the sneeze ability can virtually one-shot them, so it can easily take it down. The other nice use case is when the zappies pop out underneath the Otto's outpost, it can wipe them all out in one shot. I really like using the baby dragon with the smaller villagers, and I also like utilizing other troops to enable the baby dragon, much like the technique I discussed earlier with the sneaky archers. Maybe you can use 1 or 2 of those with their invisibility to take out an archer tower or a firecrackers and enable the baby dragon to do a huge amount of work over an area of the base. The cannon cart. It always used to be one of my favorite troops. Now it probably is my favorite troop. I really like the ability. It's very straightforward. You can use it again and again. It only has a 0.8 second cooldown, but you can switch from cannon mode to mortar mode. The cannon is faster but has a shorter range. The mortar, slower but has a longer range. And what I really like is they added a ghost range so that even when the cannon cart is in cannon mode, you can see what the range would be of the mortar mode. You might choose to use the mortar mode initially and then merge it behind your tank to really take advantage of it. I have already mentioned, but you do have to be careful of traps on the outside of the base, and that is where I like to use those smaller troops to test. One final word of warning on the cannon cart, because I do this all the time. Once you set it out of range into mortar mode, it will tell you once it has destroyed all of the buildings in that area and therefore cannot shoot at anything else. Try and keep an eye on that, because you only get 2 minutes per village in the builder base, and I will often be attacking away and then see the mortar out of range miles away doing nothing. The Night Witch. This has a one-time ability, Bat Swarm, where it will spawn 8 angry bats and they can take down defenses very quick. They can be good to sideswipe a base if they've got a giant or the battle machine to tank, especially if there's a thick area of defenses. The ability can get those down very quickly, but at the moment I have to say it is not my favorite troop. The dropship is another troop with a one-time ability, Skeleton Bomb. This deals a huge amount of damage, destroying walls, and drops 7 skeletons when it is activated. Obviously, the dropship itself acts as it always did, dropping skeletons from above and acting as a tank a lot of the time for your minions moving through. The ability itself you want to try and preserve for areas that are dense with defenses, because it does deal a lot of damage. Try to use it in the best scenario, because most of the time the best use case will not be as it's about to go down, although automatically going off is a benefit. One of my favorite use cases, again, has to be over the top of the Otto's outpost to wipe out those zappies. I just think it looks so cool. The Power PEKKA. I feel this will be used a lot more in Builder Base 2.0 because its ability is far more usable. It is very similar, especially if you let it go off automatically, but you can trigger when that death damage happens. He also splashes a couple of tiles forward, so you can do damage to numerous buildings, even behind a wall. I do really like this ability as you're moving into the base and there's guard post troops, because you can just wipe those down and get good damage onto defenses as well. Perhaps you want to use the Battle Copter. You don't have the battle machine as a ground tank. The Power PEKKA can be powerful enough to solo an area of the base. Other than the Raged Barbarians, Sneaky Archers, and Beta Minions, all of the troops, you only get one of them per army camp slot, except the Hog Gliders, where you get 2. Both of the Hog Riders you get in the army camp slot do have that stun ability when they first hit a defense. This can obviously be very effective in combination with other troops, but I also like to use pretty much mass Hog Riders in the Builder Base, as long as you spread them out a bit so that the giant cannon or the crusher couldn't just wipe them all out. You can really take advantage of the fact that there aren't as many defenses on each individual base as the previous Builder Base, so the mass Hog Riders can really do a good job. Now let's explain both heroes, the ability reworks, and how to best use them. Starting with the battle machine, since that is the first hero unlocked. In Builder Base 1, you could constantly spam the ability, and whilst that is still kind of the case, Builder Base 2.0 brings charge levels to heroes. This is the same for the Battle Copter as well. You can notice the bars charging up above the hero and above the icon itself. When you deploy the battle machine, he instantly has level 1 fully charged, so you could use it immediately, or there is now a risk versus reward element, because as the charge level increases, the damage per second and health recovery also goes up. The battle machine's electric hammer also has number of targets 2 and 3 for the charge levels respectively. You can see that when the ability is used, the attack will chain onto nearby buildings, much like the Electro Dragon from the home village. It appears that irrespective of the level, each charge takes around 13 seconds. Therefore, you are not at a disadvantage from letting it charge up. In fact, in 90% of situations, I would say you want to allow it to charge all of the way to level 3. The main times you would want to use charge level 1 or 2 is if you are getting to a major defense. For example, a crusher. Perhaps you have other troops around your battle machine that you want to protect. Using that ability might get it down faster. Back to the Battle Copter though. How should you use it? Well, it's very straightforward. The Master Builder is inside a helicopter and it will target the nearest building, defense or non-defense. The beauty about the Battle Copter is you can use it to snipe areas of the base that only have ground defenses. Once you trigger the Bomb Rush ability, Battle Copter will accelerate towards its target and fire a huge bomb, dealing massive damage. There's a couple of different ways you want to use this. One is as you are approaching a major defense that you need down ASAP. This could be a ground defense if you are using the Battle Copter to support your ground-based army. Also though, if you are using the Battle Copter to support your air army, you can use the Battle Copter to tank. Because remember, even if it goes down, you still have the battle machine for the next attack. It can be quite slow though, so you might be having to press the ability to push it back ahead to use it as a tank. The final use case is when you take down the Otto hut, all of the zappies that pop out underneath, you can use the ability in order to wipe them all out in one shot. Our sneak peek for tomorrow's sneak peek states that we will be looking at exactly how the attacking and defending works in the new Builder Base in relation to loot and earning trophies. If you enjoyed this video, you're going to love this one. Enjoy the rest of your day.